some public shows up, yeah.
They probably don't know about you yet.
They probably don't, yeah. Yeah.
The next day.
I approached him, I said, hey, dude, when you turn up, I'd like to run for your seat. He said, I'll just leave now. I think it was a good excuse.
Too bad we didn't ask for 6 months ago.
My bad.
All right, calling to order DDD Board of Directors meeting, date Wednesday, March 15th, 5:30, Hammond City Council Chambers. If you could call to order, Michelle. Call roll.
Present.
Here.
Here.
Chelsea Chesnick.
Here.
Kaylee Norton.
Here.
Kathy Reagan. Here. Evan Singer.
Here.
All right, old business. First item for old business is approval of February 2023 financial report.
Michelle, is there anything on here you think we need to discuss or?
So we will discuss the budget a little bit more, I guess, when we get to the welcome sign. But with our fund balance, the request for city council to move our funds from our fund balance to our sidewalk improvements for the Coretta reimbursement was taken care of last night. So we will see that reduction in our fund balance for our, more likely our March financial report. But that was $43,000, so it'll reduce our fund balance a little bit. Otherwise, we may see, some of it may be reflected in here, but I sent the updated invoices to all of our loan recipients to make sure that those were getting up to current, so you may see more of those payments in there. But otherwise, we should be, most of it's pretty standard, and then we should be starting our fiscal year 2024 budgeting in the next few weeks to kind of be on par with what the city does. And just trying to get ahead of that and making sure that we're planning our budget to align with some of our priorities for the upcoming fiscal year starting in July.
At that budget session, Michelle and I have talked about a few things that we'd like to bring, to the board to, just some ideas on how we can handle things, but that'll come in the future. I make a motion, we approve these financial reports.
I'll second.
Todd DeLon,
Aye.
John Exicius,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood,
Yes.
Chelsea Chesnick.
Yes.
I want to
It's
say
okay.
Kelsey for some reason.
Oh,
It
it's
just
okay.
sounds totally better. Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Kathy Reagan. Yes. Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right. Next on the agenda is approval of the work session minutes for February 15th, 2023.
I move that we approve the minutes from the work session on February 15th.
I'll second.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
so you would technically abstain from this one?
Okay.
You weren't there.
Okay, good. I should.
Yes. John Exicius,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood,
Yes.
Chelsea Chesnick.
Yes. Good
Kaylee
job.
Norton,
Yes.
Kathy Reagan.
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right. Next on the agenda, approval of the meeting minutes from February 15th, 2023.
I'll make a motion to approve the February 15th regular meeting minutes.
I'll second.
Todd DeLon,
Yes.
You have to abstain.
you abstain.
Abstain, thank you very much. It's my first day, guys.
Yeah.
John Exicius,
Yes.
Elizabeth Hollywood,
Yes.
Chelsea Chesnick,
Yes.
Kaylee Norton,
Yes.
Kathy Reagan,
Yes.
Evan Singer.
Yes.
All right, next on the agenda is a recapping of the retreat. Michelle?
Yeah, so I just wanted to include this under new business. I feel like it'll take probably a moment for everyone to digest some of the items that we got from LED. But they did go ahead and send over our full report, which you'll see in your packets. And then they print this out, but they sent over a supplemental guide, which is in the guide. So it's they update this every year with loans and grants that are available for economic development and this community resource guide. So, just kind of wanted to include it on here because it's a report. You'll see our scoring for those who were in attendance, everyone except for Todd, our scoring in line with the community competitiveness assessment, and where we kind of rank in those areas that we discussed. And then they use that scoring to kind of inform some of the areas for improvement, both short-term and long-term options that, even though it's only on one page, it is kind of big projects. So definitely it'll take a minute for us to digest that a little bit and see how we will roll that into our economic development plan.
Okay. Any further conversation around that, or? Okay. Next would be new business, new board member welcome. Welcome Todd DeLon. Congratulations.
Glad to be here.
And if anybody wants to read all about Todd DeLon, we have his whole resume here.
We can do that.
So, but congratulations. Next on the agenda, presentation of the welcome sign. Michelle, you want to get that?
Yeah, so
Roland?
we have invited Roy here today to do a formal presentation on the welcome sign that is to be installed at the corner of Southwest Railroad and Coleman, on East Coleman. And so just as everyone's up to speed, we did hire Roy, I guess, back in, maybe it was October or November.
Yeah, probably.
To do a design concept for us for this, and I will give it over to Roy, and we'll discuss.
Well, thank you. My name is Roy Dufresh at Roy Dufresh and Associates Landscape Architects. And what I have on what you see up here and what you see in front of you here is just the early concept drawings for, there's 3 different options, and basically the options are just different caps, trying to keep it masonry type structure. And the point of this schematic design was to try to develop a budget. The city had, when we met with Lacey and Marcus, I can't remember Marcus's last name. Marcus is a technology.
McMillan?
Yeah, McMillan. He's a technology person for the city, and we were kind of married with him to kind of talk about the technological part of this sign and what we need to do. And then they had a sign company they'd worked with, the city's worked with out of Baton Rouge called LED Sign, digital signs. And so we met with them just to kind of find out, help give us some direction on sign placement and how big it needed to be able to communicate visually the kind of things that the DDD and the city of Hammond want to communicate. Rather than have all the banners that you see down there now, we're going to have a nice, neat sign that's a LED sign that's about 5 feet tall and 15 feet long. It's 150 LED panels. The owner of that company was able to give us kind of a budget. The city had established a $75,000 budget for the project. Just the sign itself is around $48,000. And our electrical consultant has estimated to get power from the pole behind that on Coleman to the sign is $12,000 to $15,000. So you can see we're already at 12 and 48. We're at $60,000 of a $75,000 budget. So I guess that's why we're here today a little bit, is to talk to you guys about where we are with our budget. I presented a design a couple months ago, probably the December meeting, to the DDD Design Committee. And, that group is really to kind of look at design and make comments and that kind of thing. And we haven't really updated the drawings any based on their comments, but things will change, and I'm hoping by the next meeting in April, we'll probably have a new concept based on their comments at that December meeting. We did an estimate, and we're looking at about $125,000, so we're running about $50,000 short on being able to budget a sign of this type. So if you can see, like I said, the different schemes are just different caps, and we talked about that at the design committee meeting, and we're going to scale some things down, and we'll try to make sure we're staying within that number. We're going to move the sign forward a little bit. That's just some of the basic comments that we had. I'll be glad to answer any questions. I don't know what else you might want to know about it.
Now, all these are coming in around the same budget as far as the.
Yeah,
caps?
there's only one that would be, the one that has this little lantern top, which we kind of ruled out at that meeting. It was just a little bit more, kind of a postmodern kind of thing. It's very similar to what we did at, Holly and Smith did at Southeastern, but that's about a $5,000 or $8,000 because it's a custom-made lantern cap. So we've kind of moved on from that, and it's probably going to be some kind of cast stone cap or something like that, which is in the $125,000 budget.
So the city has set aside 75 for it?
Yes.
So,
And the- yeah.
In your packet, I did go ahead and just do a little breakdown.
Oh, you sure did, sorry.
For some of the, just trying to get us talking about the financing. So the city has dedicated $75,000 for it, and they approached us this fiscal year, basically. So I would imagine that, but it's basically $75,000 is earmarked, whether I think it's in this fiscal year or the next one. With what Roy gave us for an estimate, that means that there's around $50,000, like you said, that are remaining. And so you can see some of the options there, if we were to contribute, in order to see the project of this scale come to life. For this fiscal year, it would require a budget ordinance, which we just did for the Block Coretta sidewalk reimbursement. Or if we kind of are interested in doing that full amount, we could allocate it into our upcoming fiscal year budget.
Realistically, we wouldn't start construction until,
I mean, realistically, we have,
you'd have
I
to
would say
get,
probably, let's see, this is April, May, July, probably,
yeah.
realistically.
Yeah.
It would be a July construction project.
But I guess before we advertise, we would have to have council approval just in case they voted against it for some reason.
So I think the city's contribution is already earmarked.
No, I'm talking about ours, if we approve it and move forward.
I think since it has to go through a bid process.
Yes, we'll have to bid it.
If it were to take place this fiscal year, do you think that we have to have the
We'd have to,
funds?
yeah, I think we'd have to allocate it.
Before,
Yeah.
yeah.
Roy, is this presentation today just to keep us informed of?
Yes.
You're not asking us for,
No, I mean, that's at y'all's discretion
Yeah.
when you actually approve the money. I mean, what I'll probably do, if it's okay with y'all, I'll probably move forward and try to get the design concept completed, because we're still kind of, haven't really resolved all the
Yeah.
design committee issues. We can do that and present that back in April, and then maybe y'all at that time would have a better feel for what you want to do.
yeah, capital is a huge part of our budgeting discussions.
Right.
I think we just
Yeah,
discuss
that's
it
fine.
with our budget.
Well, but I do think we need to let Roy know if we are not feeling comfortable with this number, we need to let him know that tonight. We don't have to approve an amount, but if we're not happy with the direction financially or aesthetically, we need to give him that feedback.
Yeah, that would be helpful.
I mean, aesthetically, I think, it's nice, and, if this is a permanent mainstay for our town, what is the other option? If that's what things cost, I don't know.
Well, so signing downtown is part of our master plan. So this is not something that's way off course for us. It's something that we've been talking about doing, and it's something that's going to cost money.
Yeah.
Unless you do something temporary, which is basically,
You
you
have
know,
now.
they're now
Well,
with
yeah, those
the
flaggy.
light
yeah,
poles
they're
and
like-
the,
yeah, right.
yeah, so I don't think that's the image we want to go with for downtown. We want to take what we've done so far, most recently with Railroad Park, and I think use
Incorporate it.
that to, you know, pull the pull it all together.
And this sign has some elements of Railroad Park with the little walls
Right,
and the
and the
caps. And,
bricks.
you know, in our master plan, it identifies that corner as a gateway, whether you do it through signage or architectural elements or whatever. But that's kind of the sign's intention, is to be this gateway that you kind of pass as you come into town. And this thing's going to be visible for several hundred feet and
Right.
quite big. And
Let me ask a question, just, I know this is more of a design committee probably thing, but is there going to be any additional, maybe low landscaping in front of the sign, you know, almost like at an entrance of like a neighborhood or
well,
something you would see?
what we talked about
maybe
with
a little
Lacey,
bit
you know,
more
the city's
up
very
there?
conscious about maintenance. And we probably will not do any landscaping outside of the sign. That little low wall in front is a planter, so that they can do annuals or seasonal color in there, 'cause they do a good job at that. But we would probably put what's called a mow strip around it. It's like, we've done that a lot at Southeastern, so that the city can maintain it. I don't think they want a whole lot of landscaping outside of that. Now, we do show some things behind it, because we will have some space behind that has to be dealt with somehow, and we want to hide the electrical and all that. So there'll be a little landscaping behind it, and that's figured into that budget.
Well, we don't want to hide the sign, so I don't think we
Oh,
would
no, I was
put
talking about
anything.
maybe almost, because you see how it's like I was talking
Yeah,
about in front of it, it just kind of
It's
looks
probably just going to be
empty,
turfed
but, I
on up
mean,
to the.
Oh, I
to the
think
side.
that's supposed to say Hammond, right? And that, what we're seeing is white down there? Isn't
Yeah,
it
it
supposed to?
Well, that
says
was
City of
I'll
Hammond.
show it to you a little
Yeah,
closer.
it's the city of Hammond.
This was intended to be like a cast stone product. This says City of Hammond. And the design committee really kind of questioned whether or not we wanted that. That's something
Oh,
y'all
I
might.
think we should.
Yeah,
think
it's
so,
like
too.
a-
City,
I came to
yeah.
the
Yeah.
conclusion
Yeah.
but they kind of felt like the cast stone was a little, I think they want something a little bit more modern, a little bit, still within the historic context of what we want to do in downtown, but maybe a little bit more modern approach. So that's what I'll be showing you in April, if you'd like. So-
And Roy, do you know, would this require Historic Commission approval too?
So it's technically not in the historic
Yeah.
district.
Oh, it's
but
not?
I think that in just a
Good
gesture.
Sort of good faith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go
Yeah.
present it to them. I think that would just be a good way to handle it.
Yeah.
Yeah, let them see what we're doing, and I'll be glad to I'll handle that. When we get our final design.
Right, of course, yeah.
All right, is there any more discussion on that, public input?
Are we
Great, I
comfortable
think we
with
proceed.
Oh, yeah.
with him proceeding?
Yeah, I mean,
That-
From a budget perspective, I guess I'm concerned for, I guess, several months in a row, we have these big expenditures come before us that I don't think we've really had time to consider from a budget. We have Saul's thing, you know, I mean, I support the project, obviously, but there's a budgetary thing that I don't think we've really thought through yet, so that's my concern.
Well, and I was just looking at the numbers. I mean, the higher dollar amounts, it's not really like there's any wiggle room either within those.
And if we do anything, we're going to be trying to reduce some of the massing of the structure to try to keep the costs even. You know, I want that to be kind of the upset limit for things. So this next design will be trying to manage it on the lower end of that number.
Yeah,
Sure.
I guess if we have a capital improvements budget, and we had $50,000 available in that budget, and this came, I would say, sure, okay, but that's not the case, and I just think we need time to talk through that.
Look, that's obviously y'all's discretion, so
That's
in
just
your
me, if
time.
anyone else feels different, I mean, what, you know, that's just.
If it's okay with y'all, if it's okay, I can, y'all think about it and maybe take a couple more meetings to discuss it, but I would move forward and just come up with the next design, so we'll have a new number. You know, we'll have a new budget number, hopefully. It may be very similar, but we'll have a design that we know matches the number. Like right now, we're just kind of, you know, we have 3 designs and a kind of a range. So I'll do that in April, if that's okay.
Yeah, just one item with respect to the budget, is, you know, our fund balance, like I mentioned, you know, we do have, 200,000 in our fund balance. And then our planning for this fiscal year, you know, without looking at the exact numbers that are kind of in front of me, we do have a pretty big, excess in our, employee or salary wages. So that's not to say that, obviously, we still have a few months left of this fiscal year. We're hiring on a part-time person, we just hired on another full-time person. But we budgeted that for a full-time staff member for all of this fiscal year. And then we also over budgeted for our lease agreements. A lot line item 2, which we only tapped into for, I think, we about have half of that left, which is around 10,000. So in our budget as it is, I would say that if I were to look at different line items with our current expenses, we could probably pull from those. And truthfully, probably confidently meet that number. But I think that just all goes to show that we do need to do a better job
Yeah.
with our planning and how that all kind of works into the timeline. I certainly wouldn't want to, I guess, miss this opportunity that the city is contributing 75,000. So I think that depending upon like kind of what the timeline is with regards to that, we can definitely take a look at the numbers and see where they fall.
I totally support what you're doing. I just want us to make an informed budgetary decision, and I don't think we've had time to do that. That's, now, I'm one person, so, whatever, you know, that's,
Okay, well, thank you.
Move forward.
Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
All right. Event committee reports. Chelsea.
All right. So Michelle and I met yesterday morning with some restaurant and bar owners. Those are listed here. I guess all in all, we kind of had an open discussion just to get insight on what everyone saw or envisioned for Hot August night. I think just as a wrap up, kind of what we came to was potentially moving it from Friday night to Saturday, kind of like what we did with Starry, moving the band to Kate Square Park, which would alleviate the parking malls, so we wouldn't have to close those down. And then the other main thing we discussed was moving the foot traffic from, is it Charles? Is that what you said?
Thomas.
Thomas to Charles, so that it's taking it off that main street. So, I don't know. Did I miss anything? It was kind of,
Yeah, I think in general, you know, we kind of just wanted to see what the people at the table felt that the purpose was for Hot August
right.
for them.
Yeah.
And kind of, you know, we know the culture of the event, and while it's a fun time, it just in many ways kind of doesn't work for our downtown as it is with
Yeah.
that. So I think some of the items that you see listed on just a little write-up that we did can kind of give us a new, like, reimagining of what that event will look like. I do think that if we basically eliminate the larger stage, we move music into Kate Square Park, then that, obviously, we're eliminating a parking mall closure with that. If we don't host and sell vendor spots as we've done in the past, then that eliminates that parking mall closure. And then similarly with food trucks, that eliminates that parking mall closure.
Yeah.
The only other item that we did close parking malls for was the car show, which could be incorporated somewhere if we were to use that Charles corridor as something. You know, that could be a way to attract activity on that less traveled part. But people still know that they can kind of like moving back and forth between those. And that would potentially not have to have us close all the parallel parking along Thomas as well.
I think another thing too, sorry, Fest was thrown in, like whenever we had asked how they envisioned it, it kind of brought like a small festival to mind. So we talked about like in between events, we would have like different bands popped up. So like Kate Square would have the main one, and then we could potentially do another band in Railroad Park just to kind of fill in the dead space in between like activities we had planned.
And didn't we used to do for events, like they closed off by the Brew and like some spots
remember
for
that.
bands? And
Yes,
that was so
Cypress.
nice.
You guys did that one time.
Yeah, I remember like PJs would have some like
Yeah,
on
it was
different
really
corners
nice.
or
So the idea too was to incorporate restaurants and bars and encourage them to have music at different times throughout the day too.
It kind of makes like little hubs within
Yeah.
the town where,
Yeah.
you know, people can gather.
Okay, so when you say throughout the day, the time frame would change as well?
Yeah, so I don't know that.
That would be for Saturday.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
when
Right.
we kind of talk about changing it over to a Saturday. So, you know, we would start with the farmer's market in the morning. We would probably host music there. You know, the night portion of the event would occur, you know, later that night, but our retail shops could still be open, and kind of have that more family-friendly atmosphere during the day. And then as the, market closes, we transition to, maybe some attractions that are along Charles, hosting music in the afternoon, kind of like different stages, throughout the afternoon and evening. And then kind of probably cut off our activity at around like 7:30 or 8, so that really funnels everyone else in our restaurants and bars to kind of do kind of their own thing that night.
What was the feedback on eliminating the wine walk?
So, well,
Yeah, so I mean, as restaurants and bars, they felt like it's too crowded. Like they have the same issue that I brought up where, we don't have extra people working for the wine walk.
Right.
We have extra people working to count for the additional overhead that's coming in. So there wasn't necessarily personnel to be there to like pour the wine or whatever else. So I think everyone, and Todd, please feel free because I know you were there too, but everyone kind of felt the same in that
About, we don't-
aspect.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't that from our, like, the staff point of view and like the working point of view, doesn't eliminate a lot of the work that y'all would have to
I
do?
think usually who benefits the most from the wine walk are professional services. So I guess I wouldn't want to like completely eliminate that as an option without kind of meeting with them too.
We also discussed reducing the number of wine stop.
Yeah, that's
too, Which
true.
might be a better way to control how much people are getting served.
Well, that's what I was going to ask. So
Yeah.
so the bars were participating in the wine as well, giving wine?
They
and
did.
selling?
In the
for-
past, no,
They could.
because we didn't realize
Yeah.
that part of the permit for downtown, you can't do it at a bar, but the actual bar or restaurant can apply to the ATC and serve that night.
Yeah,
They can do a
Okay.
sampling.
a sampling. But we did for Starry
Yeah.
November. Like I know we did, because we also participated with the cheese tray.
So Starry was our first time allowing bars and restaurants to participate in that way.
Yeah.
Because of the sampling permit.
I just feel like if the wine stays, if it is done earlier, it's going to be definitely a different,
Yeah.
So what if it's not,
it's from like 2 to 4. 2 to
I guess
5.
people can't do it, like if professional services want to do it to get people to come in their door, they can't just have it.
They couldn't just like have wine.
Oh, like
in,
just have their own
have a glass of wine.
Just
Yeah.
have whatever they want.
Well, we talked about that with the signature cocktail too, like where a restaurant could have their own.
I'm just
cocktail.
trying to eliminate
The work, yeah.
Yeah.
our
Right. Yeah.
staff from having to sell bands and
Right.
coordinate purchase and all of that.
Yeah, I don't think it can be permitted that way through the ATC. That's the
Yeah.
problem, yeah.
They would basically, each business would have to get its own ATC, and they would have to buy the wine from a distributor, and then they would just have to make
Very
sure
complicated.
that, I mean, we wouldn't be able to regulate how many stops these people are going to if we do it that way. So we couldn't put a cap on that. It basically would be, we would advertise maybe that these locations are hosting.
And they would just call it an open house. They have an open house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, like just throughout the year, whenever some businesses are doing a grand opening, like they will do like a little sip and
Right.
shop, but I don't think that they usually get an ATC permit.
I don't think you have to.
Supposed to, yeah.
You're supposed to.
Yeah.
So I think, yeah, that would just have to be, we may have to hold their hand a little bit in telling them the process, make sure that they can do it on their own. But, between us advertising, selling the wristbands, making sure that everyone gets their wine and their cheese if we have that, making the punch cards and getting the wine glasses, it is a project, but I guess I would like to look at maybe some other options we could do so that maybe.
Is the revenue worth the effort in that case?
I mean, we sell it for, I think we did 35 and 40 in person, so 35 if they did pre-sale. I think it really matters about volume, so like for Hot August, we would sell between 500 and 600 tickets. And since we would collect $200 from the businesses so that we could pay for the wine and cheese, that kind of, basically just pay for that cost. The cups and the lanyards, they're not expensive. It's definitely not $35 worth of material that we're having to purchase. So it does wind up, I think, making money to a degree, but that we haven't calculated in the manpower that's
Yeah.
required to do it. We usually do have volunteers running our check-in booth, and so, we're pretty confident we can get people to do that. But, if it were to look any different, then I have to think about it.
So as restaurant and bar, if you weren't competing with people getting a wristband, people are downtown, they're going, they're walking around, they're listening to music, they're more likely to come
Yeah.
to one of your places to get a drink, or maybe go to both places as they walk up and down the street, because we'd have a open container permit for that night, so people could walk around, right?
Yes.
We're required to get that, whenever we get the ATC, we're required to get that as well. But if we were to just not hold if the DDD wasn't to hold the ATC, we were to just do the open container, then we could do that for sure.
Okay, so what would be a creative way to get them in the businesses outside of giving them wine?
We talked about bringing back the art portion of it. We didn't talk too much about it
Yeah.
yesterday.
Because Hot August started as a art and
Art
wine
stroll, yeah.
And we did talk a little bit about it. It didn't seem like kind of stuck too much, but I think if we were to, there are some art festival, I'm using that word really loosely, models that are out there that are really cool, where they do, competitive, it's basically the experts in the business, and they match artists with businesses, or the business owners get to pick artists. They do like a nationwide kind of recruitment for artists, and it's called Arts Fields in South Carolina. It's one that I've kind of looked up, which seems to be a really successful model. But in addition to that, and hosting art in the businesses for 2 weeks, they also do a like public art installations that are temporary. So some of our parks and green spaces, it kind of it's a fully forward art event, and everything kind of comes afterwards. I think we, as like Hot August Night tries to find its identity again. People are accustomed to it being more of like a block party or like a street festival, and people they just want food, they want to drink, and they want music. It's pretty simple of what they want.
Why don't we talk to the Art Center and the Southeastern and see if the Art Center did something that night. This is far enough in advance that, maybe they could, coordinate, maybe not an opening, but maybe something different that night, and talk to Southeastern, because a long time ago, Hot August, Southeastern had different departments that would set up on the street, like ceramics department they'd come with a wheel, and they'd throw some pots and the students would have some things for sale. And we've got the Railroad Park. Even if we have a band, we could still have a small area where maybe we could host some artists. There's a lot of possibilities of what that could be. And then maybe we could so if we had the Art Center, Railroad Park, and maybe something else on the west side.
Kate Square or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or, maybe on Charles Street, I don't know, I can't picture it right now, but maybe something small where we're not doing the work. Again, talk to Southeastern Art Department, talk to the Regional Art Center, and see if they could help come up with some ideas, and then plug a little bit back in and see what we get, see what kind of feedback we get.
Well, and maybe this is a dumb idea, but that Arts in Bloom festival thing going on, is there a
That's
way?
in April.
That's
yeah.
in April.
Is there any way we can merge with them? Because they do these installations, and I feel like
Yeah.
their traction, maybe it could give them a little more traction. I don't know. I'm just, as an idea.
Yeah,
We can-
we're
yeah.
working with them, so I can definitely see kind of what they're thinking in terms of their events growth. They could
Or we're stuck on the August thing. We're
close,
definitely
though,
gonna keep,
yeah.
we're definitely gonna keep the August thing because we always
mean,
have.
I think
art in
August is
August.
good. What'd you say?
Art in August.
Art in August, yeah. I think August is good because it is like it's during
Yeah.
the summer. There's no school.
Well, that's when White Linen is in
Yeah.
New Orleans and stuff, so.
It's bringing people back into downtown after a,
Well,
summer hiatus kind of
Yeah.
thing. I think we could, and maybe talk to Southeastern too about having music or something at Columbia.
okay. Any more about that? All right.
Can I ask one question? When will we decide if we're doing it Friday or Saturday? And how are we kicking it out to other people to get some feedback, or?
So I think, while I see maybe a progression after our discussion with the restaurant bar owners is, I would like to talk to a few other business owners, do some more like in-person outreach, just kind of see what they're thinking. It seemed like the folks at the table, they said either Friday or Saturday, but
they're
obviously
indifferent.
the two event formats are very, very different. So it would be helpful in talking with other folks to know if we're feeling more about trying out a Saturday this year, or if we just want to keep it on Friday and we're kind of pulling more of the pieces to Kate Square and along Charles, so that we're kind of moving some activity over there, and it's going to be in the evening as it normally has been.
So I think the only feedback I've heard was, people are open to changing it to Saturday, but if we do that and it's not as successful, they don't want to keep like throwing everything into Saturday instead of like going back to doing it on Friday, because we know that works, I guess.
So you're saying they're open to trying it on a Saturday, but if it doesn't work, they want to go back to Friday?
Yeah, that's just some feedback I've heard.
I think the only way we know is try it, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it might even be bigger on a Saturday than it is on Friday.
Yeah.
Because you're not having to, most people are already off work.
Right.
They're not having to juggle, what time do I get off work? What do I do with my kids? I think and we're also building a presence at Kate Square through picnic, or the music in the park.
Yeah, picnic in the park.
So, I think we're just kind of building on, establishing that and then building on it. And maybe that becomes a way to promote that Hot August is going to extend to.
Let me interject just one last thing.
Mm-hmm.
The service industry's busiest nights are Friday and Saturday
Yeah.
already.
Already,
So
that's
we're already dealing with a lot of customers on both of those two nights. So to do an event on either of those two nights, all it does is increase our foot traffic, which means we have to increase our expenses because now we've got to have more staff to accommodate that. The concept that I really liked when we talked about it the other day is that by spreading that out some, it alleviates some of that tension in that hot spot, that 8 to midnight slot. So if you can eliminate a little bit of that tension on the bars, you can also lower their costs and they can have a profitable Hot August nights too, because quite frankly, it's not profitable for most of the businesses.
Okay.
Your expenses go
want to
so.
circle back
so-
around to why are we doing Hot August
Yeah.
night still?
Well, because I think it's long-term marketing for people to just have awareness of town. you
It's
know?
wonderful for getting.
For all the other
foot
days out of the year to get exposure, I believe. But the question what I have, so would it make sense to have beer booths or things like that to kind of alleviate some of that throughout the day? Because, everybody's doesn't like.
Probably.
food trucks.
You're taking money away from
Yeah,
bars.
that's been the
But-
complaint though,
but-
is, because if they have that, why would people come further into
Right, but then the argument is
restaurant?
then when they come, you have to up your staff and then there's no,
I remember when.
Well, I think,
On Cypress, when the band was there in front of you guys, it was like 4 years ago maybe. There was a beer booth right there. Was that through y'all or was that so that was
It was
separate?
not through me.
there was
yeah.
times they
Okay.
had beer booths for Hot August nights. I remember we did.
Yeah,
Since
I
I've been
was,
here. we
I
had-
remembered it. I just wasn't
So
sure.
that
how it
becomes a
worked.
competition to your regular merchants, so
what
it's
we've
probably
done
not the
for-
best
We
idea.
have done beer booths in the past, and we've had nonprofit groups run them.
Right.
But, I mean, truthfully, I would rather not do that. I'd rather tell people to get their stuff to go, or incentivize our business owners or bars to maybe do faster to-go service and do that, because all of those little pieces of, okay, we gotta do the tent, we've gotta get the beer truck, we're gonna put it here, we're gonna need a nonprofit and the volunteers.
It's like taking and adding
It's just like, I really don't
resources, yeah.
understand why we really ever did that. I know there was a stage and, that the assumption was that, well, we don't wanna overload any of our business owners with anything, so we'll put some of these other cushions in. But ultimately, I mean, it just,
So as far as licensing stuff, can the bars have separate tents with just beer or off-site of their actual bar, just to kind of keep traffic flow and thing, is that?
We have a catering license, so the answer is always yes for us, but not everybody does,
Yeah.
so. Mr. Ricky does, I know the Crescent does, yeah,
and Benny's does as well.
probably.
Well, even, and I'm not telling y'all how to run your business, but I know Cinco de Mayo, I think there's a couple of other times, Soul sets a separate bar up, like at the edge of the, along the sidewalk, just to keep some of that, the people are just gonna get a drink and go, keep that out there. I don't know, is that something
It's
that,
just an added cost, that's the only,
Yeah.
you gotta have
Yeah.
personnel for that. You
Right.
gotta have a different POS system set up for it. So it's not, unfortunately, not easy.
I don't think the complaint has ever been that they couldn't handle it. I think it was just kind of like a pro, that if we do it on Saturday, it does stretch it out to where more business, like, no one was ever complaining that
Ultimately,
it
you
was on
want
Friday.
the footsteps, you want people
Yeah.
to see your establishment,
Yeah.
obviously. That's the whole reason for us bringing people to downtown Hammond. But we want it to flow well, too, and I think that's been the only problem in the past. It's just
Yeah.
cluttered into one slot, and you're slammed from the time you start to the time you close, yeah.
Yep.
yeah.
With the day model, with it starting with the farmer's market, what if we did something where it's like time blocks? So the farmer's market's the first event of the day, the middle event of the day is more towards the service, the businesses that see a return from the wine walk. So we could leave it up to them as to what they do to get people in their door, but, whatever their promotion may be during, say, 12 to 4, and then from 4 to 8, it kicks off the restaurants and bars. So then it kind of leaves everyone responsible for their own thing, but we're encouraging.
I think retail, professional on Saturday, most of them close between 2 and 5. I don't think there's many stores that stay open after 5 on a Saturday, so,
Wine walk between 2 and 5, just for the,
or open house, whatever we end up calling it. Yeah, do that earlier and then leave the rest of it for the music, the food,
For the bars, yeah,
and the bars, yeah.
I agree.
It seems like we're set on Saturday.
yes.
I think it's worth a try. I mean, Starry, I think people really liked that format. If you wanted to go with your kids, there was a time when it was family friendly and you weren't, dodging drunk people. Sorry.
Yeah.
Every Saturday.
That's what it, that's what Hot August ends up being after 6 o'clock. And in the past, right. So people can go do family stuff, they can go shop, they can whatever, and then everybody who wants to come out and enjoy the music and food and beverage can come do it then.
I feel like that will even kind of separate our crowd too in a good way.
Yeah.
Where families out during the day and then we get more of the nightlife at night and it's not everyone at once, which I think is a huge issue. It's good, but it's a lot.
Kim? All right. Next, design committee report. Cassie?
Okay, so our last meeting was on February the 17th. It was a very short meeting. All we did was review Rocky's Premier Car Wash, which is going in on Railroad Avenue, in front of those apartments. What, Hammond Station?
Yeah, it's
Okay.
between Jeff Lesher's new office space building on Hewitt, on the corner of Hewitt and Southwest Railroad, and where the fire station had orders are.
So we reviewed, we just had one comment. One thing that you can't have in the DDD is shiny paint, metallic paint. So we just asked them to deal with that. Otherwise, I guess they'll be starting construction soon if they haven't already. The other thing that we talked about was, we have our facade grants, and lately there's been a lot of graffiti. So when we had the work session or I guess it wasn't really a work session with the Historic Commission, when we met with them, kind of came up, hey, could your facade grant cover that? So we talked about that. Not everybody was there, but we had a majority of people at the committee meeting, and we feel that is a appropriate use of a facade grant. So just wanted to make sure everybody was on the same page with that before anybody approached us with it.
Okay.
And that was it.
All right. Next on the agenda, Railroad Park. This history exhibit. You wanna?
Yeah, so we have our group kind of reconvened and back together. We are in the midst of drafting the narratives right now in terms of a diligent effort of getting those in a draft form so we can present those to you all and kind of see where we're going with things. When I say draft form, it'll probably be more of you will see basically a rendering almost of what it would look like. We would have photos, and then we would have short text so it's accompanying each of the exhibits. I did present and inform the council last night at the meeting, just making them aware of this project to make sure that they kind of knew what's going on. So you can kind of see with some of the items that you have in your packet, the press release that we put out. We have technically an input board up there right now. If anyone would like to know what's going on, they could be here right now. And then we could take public comment on it if there are anyone here. And then we're also showing at the farmers market. I think once we finish with this and we have those tangible, kind of mock-ups almost of what they look like, then folks will kind of be able to see it, and they'll be able to give us impact a little bit more, or input a little bit more with respect to that. Roy has gone ahead and we were able to find a product that we would use, which is called a high pressure laminate panel. They would measure 24 by 36 inches, and we would have to purchase total of 9 of those, so that each of them can be mounted. Since we don't yet have the full mock-up of what it looks like, and like the amount of colors that we have to print on those, we won't have any firm pricing on that until we get to that stage. Antoine Marketing and Design, we're going to have do the final kind of mock-up and what is actually printed, so that everything looks cohesive and nice. So just that this is still ongoing and in progress, and I think our April meeting will have a tangible product to show. You all will be presented to the design committee in the historic district, and just making sure we're kind of doing our outreach to have inclusive history for Hammond's Railroad included. We still have all the same group of folks at the table that are kind of helping us with that, and the Center for Southeast Louisiana Studies.
All right. Brick and bench revenue.
So we have closed brick sales in the park, and our final sales for this round of selling, you do have in your packet. You'll have
179.
yeah, we forgot to put it in ours, and I did put it in the drive, but you'll see, you guys see your stuff?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay, we'll have like runny noses and
Yeah.
stuffiness right now.
Sorry.
So you'll see, we sold a total of 179 text bricks, 17 logo bricks, and I'm just waiting on 1 or 2 more logos so I can send them off to the manufacturer so they can get those going. Once we submit them, it's just a 2-week lead time, and then we can go ahead and get them installed. Overall, you know, we know that the bricks kind of are a pretty good fundraising tool because they only cost around $30 for us to buy, but we sell them, you know, at a higher price point. So with everything, we've made a little bit over $20,000, which is basically just sitting in our miscellaneous revenue right now, and that will roll over to our fund balance if we don't spend it. Well, we can't spend it, so it'll roll over to our fund balance for next year. In the short term, kind of see that more or less going to our history exhibit, and then, you know, we've talked about all the other upcoming projects that we have to do for the park, and those are kind of in progress with getting some bids or getting some quotes from Kelly Construction for the roof and drain cover and all those other types of things. So same information as you've seen before, just kind of updating that the sales are closed and those are our final numbers.
And that can be opened up again at any time, right? Because we have more space, or we're done?
It can.
Yeah,
Yeah, it can.
but you wouldn't want it to. Okay.
I think in terms of, so we didn't quite meet our goal of selling 300.
Right.
So we technically do have some more space that we could kind of, would be easier to sell, I think. Originally, all the engraved bricks were to go between the planter and the stage. And the amount of bricks there was around 10,000.
Wow.
So between both of our, you know, runs for our sales, we've sold a little bit, around like 900. So I'm really glad we made the decision to kind of put them in those banners, because otherwise it would feel like a never-ending campaign
Yeah.
to fill up between the planter and the stage. But there's certainly other opportunities, and the courtyard furniture is, I guess in time, we'll be able to kind of look at that too, to kind of get those sold. We're still looking at some options that kind of fit with the park, that could be maybe mounted, not mounted, all those types of things.
Okay. All right. Any more about that? Next, creating the annual partnership sponsorship package. So we met with Cassie and I, and Michelle met with North Oaks Hospital, who's interested in partnering with us, and we discussed the opportunity for them maybe having a little bit more of a long-term type of sponsorship package. And Michelle has done some work to kind of preliminary show us what that could look like, you know.
Yeah, so this is all draft, very rough, and like totally for discussion. I think for context, so that we know kind of what we can offer a potential partner, I went ahead and just kind of included our current advertising portfolio too, and what we actually pay for that, so that we can build all this kind of together and know what we can feasibly offer to a potential partner. And John and I kind of talked about this a little bit earlier today, but in kind of trying to break down in 3 levels, as most sponsorship packages are, a gold, silver, and bronze level, you can kind of see, like I said, totally for discussion, but we kind of did a 15,000, 10,000, 5,000 kind of benchmarks there, and they would have logo placement, name mention, and all the areas that you can kind of see detailed. Gold is obviously the highest level, and it's the most extensive, and then each the silver and bronze get similar kind of benefits, but it's just less, or like some have been totally entirely removed. I think the way I envision this, like working in practicality, is saying that they're supporting us as a community partner. So, you know, if we were to do our full page ads in TNG Lifestyle, whether it's just a general ad or for an event, we would include their logo. And you can kind of see those items kind of mentioned here for print materials, or billboards, radio, interviews, advertisements, how social media, we could incorporate social media, and then events and in-person outreach opportunities. And this is kind of like I said, what I think think is feasible with what we currently already have without adding another, you know, like, without changing any of our current contracts, basically, with advertising. And then it kind of, without, I'm trying to say it. We followed some similar stuff for our event sponsorship packages. And so a few of those things are kind of tied into here, because we used to just offer sponsorships per event. But this kind of is a more higher level type thing. I think with the way it's structured too, is that really we'd only have one gold member, one gold level sponsorship available, one silver, and one bronze per year. So it would not be like unlimited. We could only have one of these sponsors at the local year. So that might be a lot of information to kind of look at right now, but I think in the short term, I mean, we had a really great conversation with North Oaks. I think there's a lot of alignment with them wanting to be more involved in the community and wanting to partner with us in a variety of ways. So they kind of brought this to our attention really, and wanting to kind of work with us. And you know, I know that in the short term, I just sent them our picks in the park sponsorship package. I think that they'll wind up doing that. But this may be something that we look at, you know, for next year, that we really kind of can fine tune and this year.
Yeah, they pretty much committed to picnic, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
But they committed to that because when we decide about this and present it to them, they'll have to get approval, board approval. So that probably wouldn't happen until the summer, maybe. So, but they were very excited about sponsoring pretty much anything and everything they could sponsor between now and then.
So this would essentially alleviate our advertising costs? Is that what this is saying?
So
Or
if we
just
were to
showing.
secure like each level, then, you know, that would be 30,000, which is our expense is around 35,000. So it would pretty close cover our.
Well, but it wouldn't necessarily go just for that, because we talked about that could be a way to fund some capital projects, or even, you know, it doesn't necessarily have to go to cover
Our advertising.
our advertising. You're just rolling out what we have already so we could see it.
Yeah. So, and I think too, you know, that's also an additional component to this. If we did talk about the welcome sign, actually, we brought that to their attention, that would maybe be something that we could work with them on if they wanted to. You know, we could explore other opportunities for that one in particular. But if we were to say, okay, this is an annual partnership and this 15,000, we can dedicate and let them know that it is going to X project if that's what they wanted. Or if they would just say, you can just kind of use it however you want, we can still, you know, keep our promise with offering all these advertising options to them. And then also too, if that were to get built, then the, you know, wayfinding sign, then we could also include that on a part of this incentive too, that they could have some options there.
Well, they really wanted to they want to have banners in downtown. So this kind of evolved out of, you know, how do you limit or determine who can put banners and who can't put banners. So if somebody becomes a corporate sponsor or a sponsor of the DDD, then that's how you do it. Because if we start putting them up, other businesses are going to ask us.
They're also saying public, and they need to be a public entity, wasn't that the deal?
Well, we talked about that too, yeah. So there's probably some more that we have to think about and put in here, but.
Do other, I mean, Michelle, did you kind of create this like from the ground up, or do other like development districts have similar kind of sponsorship
So
packages?
I couldn't quite find
Okay.
something from a downtown development district,
Mhm.
but I looked at the chambers.
Yeah, yeah.
levels, and, the highest level that the chamber actually offered for an annual was only 3,000, but I actually looked at St. Tammany's as well, and they had a premier level that was 10,000. And so like I said, like John and I kind of talked about these amounts a little bit, to make sure that not only does it cover cost that, we already have, but it also can add to other items. So, we had kind of tossed around a few different breakdowns for the most expensive. And, John, if you want to give your take on the.
Yeah, we were just trying to figure out, yeah, what is the baseline level, what somebody might be willing to pay, and how much value they're going to get based on how much we're spending and what percentage of that marketing budget that they would be getting based on what we're spending. So we kind of came up, I think we said something, 3 times the amount or 4 times the amount of whatever the percentage was is kind of the baseline, but this is all something we could.
And 5,000 is usually the highest that we offer for Hot August or Start for our larger event. So, in thinking that, okay, that's a one-time item basically, kind of using that as a baseline for for the bronze level and then kind of building up from there.
And I just think from a business standpoint for a larger entity like North Oaks or something like that, I think I would rather a one-time shot and have a more consistent marketing plan throughout a year than just, spending $1,000, $2,000 here on one event and you may not get that exposure, because I think marketing yourself is about that consistency of that. So I feel like there's a value in that for somebody that, has that type of budget,
I'm not tied to these numbers. I realize that they very well may need to change. And I think that's one thing that I would like to have discussion about. Because I don't necessarily want to bring something that's too high to the table, but I don't want to undervalue ourselves. So
I think this is very valuable, what you've put together for a large company, and, yeah, I think it's an excellent idea.
I don't think
For y'all to do
15
this.
is too much.
Yeah, I think it's worth considerably more than that from, just, I don't know what.
And I think especially for
It just
the
seems like a really
types of-
great value and a great package that, like John said, if you think, not only would you have, if you went to them with every single initiative we had, then that's 10 meetings you got to schedule, and there's so much value to just one amount and all this specific coverage they would get.
Do you want feedback tonight, or
we can kind of keep it open.
Kind of-
I don't know if you all would like to, maybe we can review it again at our next meeting and we can make some edits between now and then. We can take it home and kind of think about it, and then you probably maybe make a motion to approve it at the April
at the next meeting? Okay.
I have a quick question. So if it's one per level, would North Oaks automatically get the gold level, or would this just be presented like, here are your options?
I think we'd probably go to them first to hear your options, and I think maybe they would pick one. I see them getting a gold level.
Yeah.
With kind of the enthusiasm that they had, and then, having those 2 other opportunities available for someone else.
Okay. I guess why I'm asking is if there was someone else who came in and they were like, well, we want that one too, just trying to,
You reserved it for next year.
yeah.
What-
There you go.
So what is our restriction for only having one? I'm just curious.
In terms of, I think with the way I kind of structured things, with what we already have of, X number of interviews per year, the number of full-size page ads that we have in Pagey Lifestyles, some of those items, I felt that I don't want to overpromise, I guess. So in terms of having 2 gold level sponsorships, it would just basically limit what would be available. So for example,
So we might have to increase our marketing budget
Right.
if we took on another gold. So maybe the way to put it is, the first year, that's what we're targeting, but maybe be hopeful that we would
Yeah,
get
well,
more than one in the future.
I think also, looking at it from their perspective, okay, just taking, the rotating billboard panel. If you have 5 other businesses, Like, what is the frequency that theirs would get seen to kind of making it worth their while too?
I think there's the value in the exclusivity of it. in
Yeah.
that If you have two golds, it's not as valuable to that person investing because now you're looking at
They're
two
sharing it.
businesses.
Yeah, they're sharing the real estate.
And then also the manpower to actually put together some of this marketing stuff. I mean, it still takes hours from you guys, and if we have a ton of sponsors, then that's becomes a whole nother job for someone.
Yeah, I'd be concerned about that. And then, you know, also if we're using all of our advertisement and and so many social media for a sponsor, which is great, they've given us money, but then we're not using it for the business, to promote the businesses in our DDD.
Well, one thing I know that we discussed is like, for Tangy Lifestyles, for example, that we can't really directly market them. It has to be DDD related. We
Right.
can put their logo, but, you know, I don't know if it's all gonna be,
So I would say, and I kind of am thinking about that too, would basically be, you know, let's just say North Oaks happens to be the pool sponsor, and they are gonna get 12 dedicated posts, once per month. So we can say, you know, we would have to be coordinating with them about what that would be like. So it may be, you know, North Oaks is tabling at the farmer's market. It would be, they're at Picnic in the Park. You know, it would be very specific for what it would be. And I think also too, in order for us to do this well, like it does mean that we are kind of like on our P's and Q's with a more well-rounded advertising and marketing approach.
strategy, yeah.
I hope we'll get there with bringing in a part-time farmer's market manager so that between Katie and I, we have some time to do that. But yes, it is certainly, we get money from someone else. It is going to create a little bit more work for us, but
Well, and I think some just habits, when we go in those radio interviews, it's not like we're interviewing North Oaks every time you have a radio interview, but you say, we want to thank our sponsors,
sponsors, yeah.
you know,
It's
and say
basically
their
tying
names.
into all of our existing work. That's how I see it being implemented.
I also think keeping this only three sponsor structure makes it easier for us to know annually that we can meet that and make that without it being too
Chaotic,
much.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a very manageable goal, and, you know, if we can count on that every year because it's manageable, I think that's a great at least start.
All right.
Okay, so
Any-
if you want to take a look at it on your own, and just let me know if you have any suggestions. We'll gladly take it.
All right. Next, staff report.
We have another full-time person.
Welcome.
So she was, started full-time last Monday and, getting her trained up on all of the things. So it's really a joy to have another full-time person in the office, and, I think there's a lot of learning that we both gotta do, I think, cause I'm like, everything's in my head still. I've gotta get it out of my head. And so we're working on all those processes and, just getting her trained up on all of our standard items that we have going on. We did start advertising for the part-time farmer's market manager. So those applications will be open until the 31st. We're going to push that a little bit more, now that this work meeting is done. And I've got maybe 3 or 4 applications, which is pretty low. But it is a part-time position, so, you know, it doesn't work for everyone. We did not advertise what the hourly rate was, but we said it's part-time, hourly, non-benefit. So I'm hoping that we'll get some good applicants. Where did I put it on here? It's on the website under staff. And it's here. So if you know anyone who may be a good fit for us, part-time person, please send them our way. I think it's a really rewarding position for the right person.
Do you have any kind of job description so we can
Yes.
share that as well?
Yeah, so, it's on our website, ddm.com/staff,
Okay.
and the full job advertisement is, and so I was fairly thorough with
It looks
the
like it.
expectations for the role, because I would just hate to have someone have this warm and fuzzy idea of what it is that they're not gonna be working outside in the rain and closing down streets and doing all the things that are required to basically happen.
Well, that might explain your 4 applications.
Right.
You know?
I've actually heard from a vendor that said that the job description scared them.
Really?
Weird them.
So yeah, we'll see. I think it is a really rewarding position for the right person, and I think that was my objective in making it as thorough as possible, is that this person really does have to go kind of above and beyond in order to, do the work. So I'm hoping that we get someone really great, and I'm hoping that our, the part-time person and that wage kind of works out too.
So how many part-time, how many hours are they gonna be putting in? Just
I put 25.
25, okay.
Yeah, I just did the higher number, just.
If over the next, say, month, you don't get more meaningful applicants, maybe we could revisit the title. Manager, a part-time manager might be confusing to an applicant.
Yeah, that's true.
Coordinator.
Or lead, or,
If I see manager, if I'm looking for a job, and then I see part-time,
yeah.
Yeah. I
Farmers
guess I just
market
wouldn't want to,
lead.
I mean, truly, the way I envision this person is kind of, like, they autonomously are working with these vendors,
Yeah.
they're coordinating the market, so truly, I do envision them being the manager.
I think your instincts are right. I'm only saying this because of the 4 applicants you got.
Right, yeah. So I will report back. Hopefully we get some folks, more applicants. Let's see, what's next? Kind of mentioned the loan program, kind of getting all that updated. Evan and I did meet briefly just to talk about the program a little bit and some areas that we can kind of maybe restructure some of it and better make use of that and let our business owners know that it's there. Evan, do you want to share anything about that?
Yeah, and it's a continuation of a kind of discussion Michelle and I have had for, I guess, 2 years or so, but I think it's an incredible resource we have. I mean, we've all, we've made several loans with it. We have a lot of extra money we can use to put out there, and we talked about I guess, what policies or procedures guide our loans. And we talked about kind of some how we figure out what those policies are, because some of it's from the USDA. And then the USDA kind of creates this umbrella that we have to follow, but then within that, we have some, discretion ourselves. And so we're trying to figure out.
Yeah, and I think in my research pool that I'm trying to do is understanding how much of these USDA policies and procedures we truly should be following, because we don't report to them annually. We have our own fund account basically that we manage with the city. So I think that's kind of a gray area that we've kind of stuck with some USDA policies, but particularly the interest rate, and some other items I think too, but that's kind of in looking back at old emails and finding what kind of documents I can find to see if we truly need to be, what we truly need to be following for this, or if we can just completely own it and kind of redevelop some items that make it more, just improve it all around.
Yeah, Michelle's doing, a great job researching it, and I think we can make significant more money using it. We just want to know what the guardrails are, and, we don't want to do something that'll get us in trouble. So, and Callie had some, I thought, great ideas on how it can be packaged with other services for a small business owner. So there's huge value to it, and we just really want to try to take full advantage.
Yeah, and just making the application process a little more structured. It's disconnected in a lot of ways from the items you have to submit, and it's not personable, I guess, in a lot of ways. And I feel like I know when I came to speak at the meeting, Elspeth, I think, told me people don't usually come. Like, I think they should have to come introduce themselves, and there should just be a little more of a personable factor if we're in such a personal downtown area and we're lending money.
Yeah, so I think more discussion kind of as we kind of move throughout the year on that. Some main required meetings that we have to attend for our Main Street accreditation, and the State Historic Preservation Conference in Lake Charles in April. So I'll be attending those. In terms of events, I meant to include the poster for Picnic in the Park, but I did go ahead and send you all an email, kind of our process of when we're putting an event out there, so you can kind of see all those steps that we take. I don't know if anyone had time to take a look at it. As, you know, kind of getting Katie trained on things, I'm trying to write things down as I do them, and that was like one of the ways that I was trying to write things down as I was doing them. So we have all of our dates advertised, and we got the city council approval for all of our alcohol resolutions last night as well, in the open container. So our first one is going to be Friday, March 31st, with Bottoms Up, and then our other two are in partnership with North Shore Arts in Bloom. Was our other one in April is in partnership with North Shore Arts in Bloom, and then in May it's a partnership with the Alumni Association for a Greening Pole Night. So we're kind of happy to kind of collaborate with some other folks on those and really make it a really, or maybe like a more impactful event, I think, kind of adding those folks on there.
Question, this is kind of associated with this, but is the 106 art market that's tomorrow night?
Oh, yeah.
What is that like? Can you
So yeah, we don't do any of that. Basically, they're their own group that hosts and facilitates the market. They reserve the park on their own, which is a process that's done in the city. And what we're trying to do a better job of is putting events on our website, like a downtown calendar, which
Yeah.
we've been working towards for a long time. So like we put that event on our calendar and just like a link to their Facebook page, but they're a completely own separate group. The original person that kind of started it, we did meet with him, and he was asking about like, is this something that you all would be interested in doing? And we're like, we are not.
No, thank you.
Yes.
Yes.
If you are that passionate about it and want to see this come to life, like, go for it, because as long as you're fitting everything that's required to reserve the park, you know, we can't tell you no. So if you want to try it out, go for it. So that's kind of where that is right now. There has been some concerns, I think, of, you know, having another market that's not operated by a nonprofit or a public entity, and how they're structured, I do not know. But that really is up to the city to decide when they're approving them for the space. Yeah, but it's a younger kind of crowd thing, artisans, some food, I think, but not food trucks. They have like a Facebook page and stuff like that, so they're advertising for everything that they have going on. Yeah, so that is this Thursday. And some of our farmers market vendors also have been there too, so there's a little bit of overlap.
Is it the first one they're doing?
No, they started it last year.
Okay.
But they only hosted two, and then they did one in October and one in November, and then they did one in December, and they kind of took a break and now they're doing it again.
Gotcha.
Another item for our partnership with Arts in Bloom, we are hosting a chalk walk in collaboration with them. I think I mentioned this last time, it's hard to tell. But that will be in Cape Square Park starting at 2. They're kind of handling all the check-in, all the other things. We're just gonna develop a registration form in a Google form and help them put on the website and advertise for it. But they're handling everything else, including purchasing the chalk. In terms of networking, I've made a connection with Erica Turner, which is one of the, I guess, associates with the Workforce Commission. Just trying to figure out ways that we can maybe funnel some of our business owners to put jobs through their already established, you know, mechanism and website, and then we can maybe link that onto our website so that we can have a tailored list of downtown jobs that are available.
That's a good idea. I love that.
Yeah, just trying to find a way to like not rework the wheel, because in some of the survey responses that we got, people want to do like a virtual job board and just trying to see what, I mean, we should be partnering with the Workforce Commission, in my opinion, so seeing what they already have and how can we like push that out to folks. So I'm gonna send an a newsletter out to our business owners, and as I'm kind of doing face-to-face visits too, letting them know of that. And we let our bar and restaurant owners know at the meeting too on Thursday. That's an option for them. Tom Pierce, who I kind of mentioned last time, this is, I guess they're waiting to announce, I'm not quite sure. I talked to him today. He said they do have the loans available and they're going to be 40% given. He said I could give this information tonight. The loans are going to be for any Hurricane Ida related damage that happened in 2021. So I think nearly all of our business owners would be eligible for it, whether it's they own the building or they had income losses as a result of the storm. I'm not quite sure of the specific like upper limit amount, but 40% of the loan could be forgiven with certain items met. So when I get more specific information about that, we'll certainly let all of our business owners know. He just said in the interim, if anyone was interested, to give him their contact info, and I was like, are you sure you want me to do that? Like, well, maybe your application should be ready, but he said in the interim, like, we can kind of give out his info. So he's been kind of coming into our office, almost for, I guess, a couple of months now, and they're looking for some office space in and near downtown. So I've kind of the stuff that I knew that was available, kind of funneled it his way, so we have a location here. And then there's also a Walkability Action Institute that we were invited to participate in with Tangipahoa Government and City's Hammond representation. Basically, it's a project between the Center of Planning Excellence and Department of Health and Department of Transportation. So some of this discussion about safe intersections, our sidewalks, all of those items. I think it will be a good opportunity for us to network some of our parish planning folks and kind of see what they're kind of doing. And then lastly, the farmers market, kind of see some numbers there for our Grow the Good program. The SNAP incentive, it's $20 match, up to a $20 match for our SNAP shoppers. And I didn't put the number of new customers on here, but we've seen probably 12 or so new customers just through that. And so it's been good to have Jamie, our intern, kind of implement that, and she'll be with us through the life of this program has funding definitely through the end of June, so she's leading all of that with the farmers market. So that's kind of briefly what I got. I probably missed a few things because I kind of typed it up quickly, but that's us for March.
All right. So that's it. So I will call for the meeting to be adjourned.
I do have one more thing.
Oh.
I did go ahead and I pulled ordinances for blocked intersections, traffic lanes, and all items related to that. So I'll forward that all out to you. I got it from Andre yesterday. So I have that. I know it's kind of continuing from last week, but I'll send that to everyone. And maybe the executive committee and we can look at that and just kind of see who we need to talk to implement some of those
Yep.
things. Unless that's the only other.
But Andre responded to you,
Yes.
Great,
Yeah.
glad to hear that, great.
Okay.
All right. Meeting adjourned. Can I have a second?
Thanks, everybody.
All in favor?
Here, here.
The official thing to end